A chance encounter, a stormy night, and a flat tire. Jamal tightened his hoodie against the cold wind as he hurried down the dimly lit road. The streetlights flickered, casting eerie shadows across the cracked pavement. He had no business being out this late, but he needed to make some extra cash. His mother, Tanya, worked double shifts at the local diner, and no matter how hard she tried, the rent was always a struggle. Jamal had been looking for side hustles, walking dogs, carrying groceries, even washing cars. But tonight, fate had something bigger in store for him. As he turned the corner, the sharp screech of a car skidding to a halt caught his attention. Bang! A loud pop echoed through the empty street. Jamal turned his head toward the noise and spotted a sleek black Bentley parked awkwardly on the curb. One of its rear tires was completely flat. Jamal hesitated. A rich guy's car. Probably trouble. He could have walked away, but something in his gut told him to stay. Taking a deep breath, he approached the driver's side window and knocked. The tinted glass slowly rolled down, revealing a man in his early 50s with sharp, piercing blue eyes and salt and pepper hair. His expensive navy blue suit was crisp, and his gold watch gleamed under the streetlights. He looked important. The man studied Jamal for a second before speaking. "Let me guess," he said, his voice deep and controlled. "You're about to ask for money?" Jamal stiffened. "No, sir. I was actually going to ask if you need help with your tire." The man's eyebrows lifted slightly. "You know how to change a tire?" Jamal smirked. "Sir, I grew up in this neighborhood. We don't call AAA when we got a flat. We fix it ourselves." The man chuckled, more amused than impressed. "All right, kid. Show me what you got." An opportunity in disguise. Jamal wasted no time. He dropped to his knees, examined the tire, and got to work. His fingers worked quickly, unscrewing the lug nuts, pulling off the damaged tire, and replacing it with the spare. Meanwhile, the man leaned against the car, watching him closely. "You got a name?" he asked. "Jamal," he said, tightening the last bolt. "And you?" The man smirked. "Harrington? William Harrington." Jamal's hands froze for a moment. He had heard that name before. William Harrington was a self-made millionaire, a real estate mogul with businesses across the country. People in Jamal's neighborhood talked about him like a myth. "You own that big building downtown, right?" Jamal asked, brushing off his hands. Harrington nodded. "Among other things." Jamal let out a low whistle. "Man, people say you're one of the richest guys in the city." Harrington chuckled. "People say a lot of things. Some of them are even true." Jamal stood up and wiped the sweat from his brow. "All done, Mr. Harrington." The older man looked at the newly replaced tire, then back at Jamal. "You work fast," he said, reaching into his wallet. "How much do I owe you?" Jamal hesitated. He could have asked for a quick $50 and walked away. But instead, he took a deep breath and said, "I don't want money. I want advice." Harrington paused, his expression unreadable. "Advice?" "Yeah," Jamal said. "You started with nothing, right? Just like me. So tell me, how does someone like me make it?" For the first time, Harrington looked at Jamal like he was actually interested. The old man smirked. "You really want to know?" Jamal nodded. "All right, kid," Harrington said, pocketing his wallet. "Get in the car." A ride to the unknown. Jamal's heart pounded as he climbed into the passenger seat of the luxury Bentley. Was this a mistake? Was he crazy to get into a car with a stranger? Maybe. But his gut told him this was an opportunity he couldn't pass up. The car purred to life, and they sped off into the night. As they drove past the rundown buildings and graffiti-covered walls of Jamal's neighborhood, Harrington spoke. "Let me tell you something, kid. The world isn't fair. It wasn't built for people like us to succeed." Jamal glanced at him. "Us? You're a millionaire." Harrington chuckled. "And do you think I was born with money?" He shook his head. "I was just like you once. Broke, hungry, desperate, The difference is, I figured out how the game is played. Jamal leaned forward. Then teach me. Harrington smiled. That's what I like. Ambition. But ambition without knowledge is useless. The Bentley pulled into a massive skyscraper downtown. It was Harrington Enterprises, his empire. As they walked into the luxurious office lobby, security guards stepped aside, recognizing their boss immediately. Jamal had never been in a place like this. Marble floors, glass walls, a view of the whole city from the top. They entered a private elevator, and Harrington turned to him. "You want success, Jamal?" Jamal nodded. "Then let's see if you can pass the test." The test of a lifetime. A millionaire's challenge. Jamal's heart pounded as the elevator doors slid open. The top floor of Harrington Enterprises was nothing like he had ever seen before. A long glass hallway stretched ahead, leading to a massive office with floor-to-ceiling windows. The view of the city skyline was breathtaking, but Jamal barely noticed. His focus was on the man beside him. Harrington strode forward with the confidence of someone who owned the world. Jamal followed, suddenly aware of how out of place he looked. His hoodie was damp from the rain, his sneakers were worn out, and his jeans had small rips, not the designer kind. Inside the office, an expensive leather chair sat behind a desk larger than Jamal's entire kitchen. A glowing city map covered one wall, marking different properties with blinking lights. Harrington gestured for Jamal to sit. "You asked me for advice, kid," he said, leaning against the desk. "But let's see if you're worth giving it to." Jamal swallowed hard. "All right, what's the test?" Harrington smirked. "Simple. I'm going to give you $100. Jamal frowned. "Okay. And?" "You have 24 hours to turn it into more." Jamal's eyes widened. Harrington leaned forward. "No tricks, no asking for handouts. Just your brain, your hustle, and your courage." Jamal exhaled slowly. "And if I fail?" "Then I'll know you're not ready for real success," Harrington said, "and you'll go back to your normal life." Jamal stared at the crisp $100 bill that Harrington placed on the desk. This was it, his one shot. "Deal," Jamal said, snatching the money. Harrington smiled. "Good. Let's see what you're made of. A hustler's mindset." Jamal stepped out onto the dark streets, gripping the $100 bill tightly. 24 hours. No plan. No safety net. He had to think fast. He looked around. The streets were quiet, but a few businesses were still open. A liquor store, a gas station, a 24-hour diner. Jamal took a deep breath. "What's something I can buy cheap and sell high?" he muttered to himself. Then it hit him. Water. It was hot during the day. People in the city always bought water from street vendors. Jamal sprinted to the nearest convenience store, his mind racing. Inside, he found a 12-pack of bottled water for $6.99. He grabbed 4 packs, spending $28. Then he ran to the nearest park. By morning, joggers and office workers would flood the streets, and they'd need water. The morning hustle. As the sun rose, Jamal was already set up. He stood on the busy corner, holding a cold bottle in each hand. "Ice-cold water. $1 a bottle," he shouted. People stopped. Some ignored him, some walked past. But then, a woman jogging in a tracksuit slowed down. "How much?" she asked. $1, Jamal said. She bought 2. Then a businessman grabbed 1. Then another. Within 2 hours, he had sold all 48 bottles. He had turned $28 into $48. A $20 profit. Not bad, but not enough. Taking it to the next level. Jamal reinvested the $48 immediately. This time, he bought more than just water. He grabbed soda cans for office workers, energy drinks for gym goers, small snack bars. He changed locations, setting up near a bus stop where people waited in the sun. Grab a drink before your bus comes. Ice cold, $1. Within 4 hours, he sold out again. This time, he had $120 in cash. He had doubled Harrington's money, but he wasn't done yet. The risky move. Jamal knew small hustles wouldn't impress a millionaire. He needed to take a real risk. With his $120, he did something bold. He bought used phone cases and headphones from a wholesale supplier downtown. Then he set up outside the train station. People rushed by, but Jamal was relentless. Need a charger? Phone case? Only $5. One guy stopped, bought a case, then another. By the time the sun started setting, Jamal had $380, but his 24 hours weren't up yet. The final stretch. Jamal thought hard. He could stop here and play it safe. Or he could go all in. With $380, he made one last investment. He rented a cheap food cart for $50 and bought hot dogs, buns, and condiments. By evening, he was outside a club where partygoers came out hungry. Late-night hot dogs, $5. The line formed instantly. By 1 a.m., Jamal had sold out. He counted his earnings, $950. He had turned $100 into nearly $1,000 in one day. The return to Harrington. Jamal stepped into Harrington's office the next morning, exhausted but triumphant. Harrington looked up from his desk. Jamal placed $950 in cash on the table. Harrington raised an eyebrow. "That's more than I expected." Jamal grinned. "Told you, I know how to hustle." Harrington leaned back, nodding slowly. Most people would have played it safe. Bought something, sold it, and stopped there. But you took risks. Jamal shrugged. "I had to. The world ain't fair, remember?" Harrington chuckled. "You listened. That's good." He picked up the stack of cash and slid it back to Jamal. "Keep it," he said, "and be here tomorrow. I have a new test for you." Jamal's pulse quickened. "New test?" Harrington smirked. "You proved you can hustle."